Greetings from the Sub-Etha. This is Alan with another hopefully short color computer video, this time to talk about my 1994 video game Invaders09. Now, from 1990 to 1995, I operated Sub-Etha Software with my business partner, Terry, and we went to color computer conventions in Atlanta, Chicago, there was even one in Des Moines, and we also sold our software through the pages of Rainbow Magazine and other smaller publications, and had a really good time. The color computer used the Motorola 6809 processor, but Hitachi came out with a 6309, which was supposed to just be a replacement version of that chip. And people found out it had extra features, new registers, it could run in a native mode and run faster. And so folks started writing software to take advantage of this, and a lot of us replaced our CPU with the 6309. One of the things that came out were a set of patches for OS 9 called Nitros 9, and it took advantage of the new chip and ran faster and did a lot of things a lot better. And one of the things it had was a system call they added that lets you access video memory, so you could map in a graphic screen and then write to it directly. And that was interesting to me because I didn't know how to program the hardware of the color computer. I didn't know how to do graphics or sound or joysticks or keyboard, but under Nitros 9, the operating system would take care of all that for me. So I started working on my first video game. It actually started out as a demo that I'll have to dig up and show another time. So let's see. So I'm going to boot this XROR emulator. It's running Color Computer 3 mode. I'm going to boot into Nitros 9. This is a modern version. I actually downloaded this a couple of years ago to make a special boot disk that contained the operating system and my game, so somebody could just download a disk image, which is available on my site, Sub-EthaSoftware.com. And then you could just stick it in an emulator or, on a memory card in a color computer interface, and you could actually just run the game directly without having to have OS 9 installed. But in the old days, you would have just bought the game, and it would be an executable, and you would just copy it over to your OS 9 operating system disks, just like you would if you bought a program on disk and copied it to DOS or Windows or whatever. So eventually, Nitros 9 is going to load from the very slow emulated floppy drives of the 1980s. And I had a little title screen in here. I actually released this in '94, did a few more updates of it, and then it was 20 years later I decided to dig it out and fix some things. And that became version 104. So I'm going to say I'm using an RGB monitor, and it should just load the game. Eventually. The game was written entirely in 6809 assembly language. I had never done anything like this before, but I had done a lot of little command line utilities and simple things on the text screen, and I'd programmed in BASIC and BASIC 09. I knew a little bit of 6809 assembly, also did C, learned C, but I'd never done a game. So here is the original screen. It's been updated a little bit to remove my old post office box and the version number and all that. I added joystick and keyboard support, and I'm going to start off with keyboard support because I don't have a joystick on this emulator. And there you go, left and right, and you can fire. Now you'll notice I get 3 shots. At the bottom of the screen, round A is which level I'm on. The power level is basically how many shots. A, B, C, that means I've got 3 shots at a time. And as I clear a level, you get another shot. So if you clear 5 levels, you'll have 8 shots on the screen at a time. I don't remember how many it supported, maybe 10. A UFO that flies by will come by with random speeds. And I decided to do a couple of things a little different. One thing is while you're moving, the moment you hold down to fire, you stop moving. So you can't take pot shots. It forces you to stop and fire your weapon. Another thing, watch the spaceship. When it drops the bomb, the spaceship, the UFO's bomb, will go right through the shields, because I always thought it was really unfair that you could just go hide under something and be safe. So I did a couple of things to make the game a little more challenging. You can't fire while you're moving, and the UFO will always drop wherever you are. So there is no way you can stop when the UFO passes by. You have to move. So I'm going to try to clear a level here. The UFOs also rotate. The Space Invaders, they rotate, and you can miss them because it's looking for some target spots on the bottom of them. And they might be flipping right when your bullet goes by, and you can't hit them. So it's a little harder to hit these than a traditional Space Invaders game. Okay. And all the graphics were just done by hand. I didn't have a graphics editor. I did them just by figuring out what all the bits were, and it's just data inside the program. And this was basically the game. Now, like Space Invaders, as the aliens become less and less, the game gets faster and faster. And eventually, they will start lower and lower and lower. And what I did with my version is, instead of them starting at a certain level that's low, and then the shields just disappear, I always wanted as much shields to be there for the player. So if you play enough levels, which I did the other night, they will start until they're actually digging into the shields right from the top. Okay, there we go. I went from thinking Space Invaders was a really boring game and couldn't even play my own game, but then after I started playing it for a while, I realized that it was a lot harder than I remembered for a simple left, right, and fire game. And these corners will get me a lot. So I'm going to try to complete a level, and then it just immediately starts over with another level. I didn't have any level screens. There's no high score. That was the request, to add a high score in a demo mode. And I'm hoping that maybe I'll complete that. Okay, so, well, okay, we're going to complete round A, maybe. Maybe we're not. There we go. Okay, now we're at round B, and now I've got 4 shots. And so you get the idea. And, of course, you can blow holes in your own shields. You'll see how it takes the little pieces out like that. The shields have the word Etha in them. The kind of 3D, the little rotating gold things. I'm not sure what those were supposed to be. And I think Etha stood for like the extraterrestrial something alliance. I forget, but there was a little story. And okay, now I'm going to let myself die. A little explosion there. Let's do it again. Another explosion. And every time you die, you lose one of your power levels. So when you're down to your last life, there you go. Game over. You'll only have, what, 1 or 2 shots. Now, when I updated this, I put in some help there. I documented some command line options. One of the options was -Z, because folks were always like, well, OS 9 is too slow when you use a Invaders09 1.04-Z. And when you use an operating system, it's going to be slower than if you were banging on the hardware directly. Invaders 1.04-Z. I should read my instructions. And so, and you put -Z, that's the zoop mode. It takes out the sleep delays that are in there to give time back to the operating system, and it becomes almost unplayable. So now the movements are real fast, and this is a lot more fun to play, but I don't make it very far, because what'll happen is you'll be in the corner and these guys will be dropping bombs really, really fast, and you won't have anywhere you can get out. Whoops. And, of course, the UFO that comes by, it is so fast with its... Dang it. It's so fast with its bombs that you can't really... you just have to be out of the way before it gets there. Okay. Can't play my old game. And you see, when the UFO's in fast mode, it really goes fast. Okay, well, there's my game. And I also finally documented a cheat mode that I had in the game that was never part of the original instructions. And if you do Invaders 1.04-? You'll see the help screen. And that includes the -Z option, and it supported monochrome or RGB monitors. So -M would set the colors for monochrome displays, like if you had it hooked up to an old single-screen composite monitor. -Z was the make it go faster, and -*, which of course is the ASCII character 42, Invaders 1.04-*. And that's a cheat mode. Once you have it running in cheat mode, you can just skip levels. So I can show you what happens if you make it to like level 10. Okay, I'm going to do keyboard. And the way the cheat mode works is there's a special key I press, if I can find it. And it skips me to round B, C, D, E, F, H. Okay, now watch this. I just have all kinds of bullets. And I don't know if it goes any more than that. Let me just go up a few more levels. There you go, however many that is. It looks like that's as... Whoops, can I go? Yeah, it looks like my power level goes to J. So 10 bullets maximum. Oh, crap. So I guess the shields do disappear. I guess I lied. I don't think I can... Yeah. I don't think I've ever actually played it this far without cheating. And let's see what happens. One more level. Yeah, they just start right on top of you. And if one of them decides to fire, that's it. So I think at this point, the game just becomes an endless same thing over and over again. And that's when the games like this kind of break down. Once you've kind of figured out what to do, they just get faster or a little bit harder, and eventually you just can't play them anymore. But in this game, I think when I get to the end, if anybody ever made it this far, I think that's pretty much all that happens. I don't think Q, R, S, T, U. I'm not even sure if it'll go to Z. I don't think I expect anybody to ever play it that long. W. And of course, if you try to do this in the high-speed mode, it's basically an impossible level because there's nowhere to hide and everything just immediately starts dropping bombs on you. So that's the cheat mode inside of Invaders09, and that was done so I could test the extra bullets and do things like that. Okay. All right, done. So there we go. That is Invaders09. That was my first machine language video game I wrote back in 1994, and then I updated it 20 years later. My last release was in 1995, and then 20 years later, almost to the day, I did the update you see now where I fixed some of the graphics, and there was a bug where the font would noise appear, and I bet if I looked back at the assembly code, there's probably a lot of really dumb things I did, but I had some great people helping me out, like Robert Galt was helping me with my code and making it work on a normal OS 9 system without having to have the special system calls. So if you want to get this game, it is available in the Color Computer Archive. It's also available as a download from my Sub-Etha Software site, and I just posted the source code, all the versions I have and various beta tester readmes and things like that to my GitHub account. And I'll try to put the description of this video. I'll probably put the links in there. So there you go, the first assembly language video game I wrote. But if you've seen my other videos, you know that I actually started writing games back in maybe 82 or so on my Commodore VIC-20. But those were all in BASIC. So until next time, don't panic.